Oh boy, not even June yet, almost June, not even June yet, and yet another NFL offseason bombshell, maybe a couple yesterday, depending upon your perspective. Josh Jacobs was arrested on some pretty serious charges, and the Packers have the most disgusting backup running back room probably in all of football. What do we do with the Josh Jacobs news? Bucky Irving in the news as well. Yesterday, Todd Bowles with some hilarious quotes, Adam Schefter with some updates on all of that. Patrick Mahomes is practicing. We're going to get into all sorts of fantasy news that is somehow super relevant, despite the fact the calendar is not even turned June. Then, of course, we're going to draft some best ball teams. Let's do it. I think this has to be the perfect summation, the perfect intro to what we're talking about here today is currently two players drafted in the first 3 rounds of fantasy football drafts in 2026 are sitting in a jail cell. I was reading yesterday, I think Jacobs may technically have bonded out this morning. We don't got to get into all of that, but as of last night, both Rashee Rice and Josh Jacobs in jail cells. Not ideal for trying to draft fantasy football and best ball teams here in May. But we weathered the storm. We trudge on. Welcome to Spike Week. If you guys can, of course, hit the thumbs up on the way in. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. That would be phenomenal. And of course, if you are not subscribed to Spike Week Premium, I promise you will not regret it. This hot best ball summer is often cooking. Good Lord, maybe not in positive ways, but everything that you need, your best ball co-pilot for your drafts on Underdog, DraftKings, Drafters, and Fast Draft this summer. We got it here at Spike Week. You'll see the Draft Hacker overlays a little bit later today. We have a Draft IQ portfolio tool. We have a brand new draft optimizer that really helps you, again, like sort of you're flying the plane, but we can help you with your destination where you're trying to get to by the end of the summer on player exposure targets, certain players you want to draft more frequently or less frequently with other players, groups, right? I want only so many rookies on the same team, whatever. However you want to set up your drafts from a structural or player exposure perspective, we can help you with all of that. We have rankings, of course, for all of the major sites and all the formats, right? Superflex, Eliminator, everything. And we cover all the sports, right? So if you play college football, which is soon to drop for those in legal states, I'll be grinding my you-know-what to a nub on college football, best ball drafts later this summer. We got it all covered for you here at Spike Weekend. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Discord, which you can join for free and you get access to some of the sort of free channels. There isn't. It's a little bit more administrative in the free channels. But if you just want to join the Discord, that's just $5 a month. A link to the premium page in the description. And if you are a Spike Week Premium member, you get access to all of the channels, like tens of different channels, conversation around the clock, 24/7, 365. Great place to get better best ball. I get better best ball there every day, talking to the good folks in the Spike Week Discord. All right, let's get to some of the news. Is right. Good morning, Wyatt. Versaire is winning. Just got home in time. Chat is better when Versaire is here. I agree. 2-3 turn on thin ice. Great point. OMG. The 2-3 turn has been getting weeded out by chaotic news. If you didn't like George Pickens at the 2-3 turn before, I have terrible news for you because he has supplanted a lot of players at the 2-3 turn, and there ain't nothing we can do about it until all of these things get reserved. All right, let's talk about some of the latest news, starting with Josh Jacobs. It is certainly a bit of a tricky situation. So first of all, hold on. Let's go to what specifically happened here. As Matt Schneidman says, Josh Jacobs has been arrested and booked into jail on I believe it's 6 charges officially. I thought that was updated somewhere. Anyway, it's not important. Never really super fun to be pulling up a press release from a police department for best ball, but we have to deal with it nonetheless. This is the game we decided to play, right? A variety of different charges. And here's what I'll say. I'm not going to get into, did he do it? I'm not going to get into any of the sort of, not political, but you know what I mean, like elements that like I'm working off of the same information that you guys are. I'm looking at this strictly from a fantasy football and best ball perspective. The charges are very serious. I believe I'm going to screw up the guy's name. I should have pulled. There's a Drew Davenport. Follow Drew Davenport on Twitter. He had a good thread about it, and he basically said the same thing that we're all sort of thinking, is that we really don't know. It's day one. We have no idea what's going to happen here. We shouldn't make leaps about, guilt, innocence, any of that different kind of stuff. But there's no, I believe he said, no mandatory minimum sentencing or anything with this. He did sort of speculate that there was a complaint, as you see on your screen, on May 23rd in the morning. And obviously the cops come out, there's a complaint. And then he was subsequently charged and arrested and booked on May 26th. And I don't know anything about any of this legal type stuff, but what Drew was sort of saying was the fact that they kind of had, got called to this, to be there for this issue, and then kind of come back a couple of days later and arrest the guy. It's a little bit more ominous than usual. It doesn't mean that doesn't mean, again, anything related to guilt or innocence, but it's a little bit more ominous than maybe usual. Like they found something or something happened that they, are treating very seriously. And so what Drew also did say, again, go check out Drew Davenport. He's a lawyer, I believe, and can explain this much more eloquently than I can do. But sort of just like added some, what I thought were some interesting, like percentage boosts, if you will, in terms of like the potential seriousness, the potential suspension, the potential put on the exempt list by the commissioner. A couple of things. One, yes, players get in trouble. Yes, oftentimes even when it's like maybe a little bit more serious accusations, you know how these things go. They don't wrap up quickly in both the legal system or the NFL system. But the NFL takes things like, there's, as you see domestic abuse, you see battery, you see strangulation and suffocation, victim intimidation. You see those types of things on your screen. And the NFL takes those things very seriously. Not to go down the rabbit hole, but everyone here probably remembers the Ray Rice situation, which they did not take seriously. And then they got a lot of egg on their face from a very, very serious situation with video. Not saying that there's video here, but I am saying I think the NFL takes these sorts of things, right or wrong, right? I'm not here to be the judge or the jury or the executioner, but right or wrong, the NFL certainly takes these things more serious than some, like injury reports and those types of things. And so what Drew was sort of saying is he would speculate something like a 20 to 30% chance increase over the average sort of legal trouble, like even things like the Rashee Rice situation, in terms of potential for more swift action by the NFL, potential for not even just swift action in terms of a suspension, but swift action in terms of the exempt list. For anybody that doesn't know, the exempt list from the NFL perspective is, the commissioner will essentially put you in purgatory. You can't play, you can't do anything until they sort of figure things out. You are exempt from play. That can be used for a sort of at the commissioner's whim. He can decide when to put players on the exempt list. That was one of the main gists I got from Drew, was that this type of thing, given the severity of the charges and the optics and the sort of a little bit more increased focus on these types of issues and this, the stain that they put on the league, that the exempt list is a little bit more in play. Now, the exempt list, you can go on and off in a week, right? They could conduct their investigation, see there's nothing, and he could not be suspended. My takeaway, specifically as it pertains to Josh Jacobs and fantasy football, right now that we've sort of laid out what even happened, right? What has happened here, and we don't technically know what happened, but we know the sort of facts up to this point. How I'm sort of thinking about it is, for me, luckily, knock on wood, not a big Josh Jacobs guy in the third round. I thought he was okay. I thought, he is the quintessential okay NFL running back to above average NFL running back who's going to get a lot of volume because he's the lead back on a team with pretty mediocre at best backup running backs. And so, at that price, whatever, it's fine. Not my personal cup of tea. But I think that the range of outcomes here in terms of what happens is extraordinarily wide. I don't think my main take is I don't think that we should act on anything with overconfidence. I would not say, well, these things take a long time. It's fine. I'm just going to buy Josh Jacobs. It's not that that's wrong, but I wouldn't just go in and say, it's the NFL, man. They let these guys do whatever they want. It's going to take forever for them to figure these things out. That stuff is sort of slowly changing. And specifically as it pertains to domestic abuse type stuff, I would, and Drew Davenport, who's someone that I get my, fantasy football legal spin from, also think there's a much heightened chance of something happening more quickly than maybe we are used to in a situation like this. And so Josh Jacobs is going to fall like a rock, right? Josh Jacobs is going to fall like a rock in drafts. I've discussed if you want to try, I think in like some time box tournaments, letting him really plummet and try to get some exposure there, just like we've done with Malik Neighbors, just like we've done with Rashee Rice, just like we've done with some, Bucky Irving, which we'll get to in a second. If you want to try to take advantage of it that way, I think it's great. For me, I'm sort of sitting this thing out for just in the short term. Because specifically I didn't love Josh Jacobs to begin with. If you did love Josh Jacobs, maybe this throws a bigger wrench into your plans than it does for me. But I kind of want to gather a little bit more information. I liken it to a lot of like ambiguous backfields or wide receiver threes, camp position battles, right? Like was it Chris Brooks or Marshawn Lloyd? I have Chris Brooks ranked significantly higher and think he is the better pick amongst the backup running backs. But I wasn't going super crazy, despite the fact that I have a little bit stronger take that Chris Brooks is kind of at least the fantasy backup, right? The most useful fantasy potential asset behind Josh Jacobs. But I wasn't going crazy with all of that because I think it would be nothing but hubris to sit here and say that I know with 100% certainty. They're both undrafted, essentially. Well, not anymore, but they were both undrafted, and I took Chris Brooks quite a bit more than I took Marshawn Lloyd. But I wasn't going to go super, super crazy on anything here. Room to room. So I was doing some drafts last night and doing some drafts this morning. And room to room, what happens? You have ADP people, you have auto drafters that are still. Josh Jacobs is not really falling quite as far as I want him to on the news. So at this exact moment, he's mostly a pass for me because I don't think the upside at the price. The upside is obviously Josh Jacobs just plays all the games and you get a discount. The further he falls, the more appealing the upside case becomes, right? It's all of this shit, just like Rashee Rice, just like Malik Neighbors, is risk reward. We have to balance the risk, right? We have to balance the aren't you worried? Everybody always, aren't you worried about Bucky's shoulder? Yes. We have to balance the worry with the upside and what do we win if this thing comes through. A profile like Josh Jacobs, I really do want to get a really good price in these types of situations. And he has not yet in the drafts that I have been in fallen to such a degree that I feel like the upside is worth the downside risk. That may change at a certain point. On the flip side, as I said, I think Chris Brooks is the best. I mean, Chris Brooks is the most unappealing sort of NFL talent, right? A bit of a plotter, a passing down back, a guy who can protect the quarterback, sort of gets what's blocked. The most typical journeyman type running back you can have. However, what he has that is of value to us as fantasy football drafters is a profile that can take on volume and take on high value touches in a good Packers offense. The reason we are drafting Josh Jacobs is not because Josh Jacobs is Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson or even Ken Walker or Saquon Barkley. It's because Josh Jacobs is fine and he has the profile to get a bunch of volume, get goal line carries, and catch the ball out of the backfield. Those are the high value touches, right? Give me the money zone work and give me the passing down work, which he doesn't frankly get all the passing down work, Josh Jacobs, but he can take on that. And he's fully functional in the passing game, right? We've seen these boring archetype players score a significant amount of fantasy points relative to their talent because they have the archetype that allows them to consume this work. Chris Brooks is already sort of the passing down back for the Green Bay Packers in a very Samaje Perine boring level way, right? They trust him to protect the passer. They trust him to catch the ball out of the backfield. They trust him to be in the right place. And so that guy can play on passing downs and long down and distance and spell the starter when it's necessary. So I value Chris Brooks much more highly than Marshawn Lloyd. If you wanted to say Marshawn Lloyd is the total home run swing, I think that's fine too. But I think you need to know what you're getting yourself into with Marshawn Lloyd. It's sort of the Grand Theft Auto meme. Oh shit, here we go again with Marshawn Lloyd. He has never stayed healthy. I thought he was an okay prospect. I know he went in the third round of the NFL draft, third round, right? Of the NFL draft, but I don't think this is we may discuss Jonathan Brooks a little bit. I don't think this is not Jonathan Brooks where you're like, oh, he just needed the opportunity or to stay healthy because he's really talented. Jonathan Brooks and Marshawn Lloyd are wildly different situations, wildly different talents in my personal prospect eval opinion. And so I don't want to also get out over my skis on just like the fact that I liked Marshawn Lloyd 3 years ago as an okay prospect when Chris Brooks sort of has those things. Now, the last point is those are the guys who I think benefit the most in the moment. It would also be completely foolish to expect if there are any true issues with Josh Jacobs, right? We will await more information about how to really properly act with this, and we may not even get that information in the coming weeks or months. However, if something goes south, where it doesn't look like Josh Jacobs is going to play to start the season or at all this season or whatever, I think it would be wildly foolish to expect that they're just going to run this season. They have Super Bowl aspirations, whether that's foolish or not. They are a good football team. They are a playoff team that thinks that they can at least compete to make a run in the playoffs. I'm sure that they show up to camp thinking they're going to win the Super Bowl, right? Whether we think that's realistic or not is besides the point. That's what they think. They're not going to think that they can go through the whole season with Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd. They also have risk assessors that are like, Marshawn Lloyd has basically not played since we've drafted him. I don't think we want to count on him too much. Chris Brooks, we like. There's a quote. I should have pulled it up. There's a quote about Chris Brooks from Coach Speak Index, which I can find while I'm discussing here. It was a while back, but they really like Chris Brooks. Here we go. On this is from the offensive coordinator, Adam Stenovich. On what Stenovich has seen from Chris Brooks in case he has to be the RB2 behind Josh Jacobs, which I thought was interesting. Chris runs hard. I like how he runs. He runs with a great mindset. He's ready. The one thing about him is that we can wear all the different hats that you need to play running back. He can protect. He can run the ball. He does a really nice job when we play with two tailbacks in the game. He's a pretty versatile player, which is cool. What a funny thing to say. I'm glad we have him back this year for sure. So there isn't a whole lot of Marshawn Lloyd hype. What he says in the next question, he gets asked about Marshawn Lloyd. And he says, yeah, period, which is really funny. You always have to kind of reset and take it one day at a time, especially in a situation like that. When he's gone through so many injuries as he has, I'm excited for him and really hopeful that everything just kind of keeps progressing the way it's going. So the Packers are even in sort of wait and see mode on Marshawn Lloyd, and they like Chris Brooks, and they specifically like, as I mentioned, the way that he can kind of do everything, not spectacularly, but they trust him to do all the stuff, which is what we really care about in this. So if I'm drafting a Packers running back, if I'm prioritizing a Packers running back that is not Josh Jacobs right now, it is very clearly Chris Brooks for me. It doesn't make Marshawn Lloyd undraftable, but that's how I'm thinking about it. And it's straight from the horse's mouth, the guy who's calling the plays for, or the offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. I also think it's exceptionally likely, if something were to happen to Josh Jacobs, as I was saying, that they bring someone in, right? They're not going to run this season with this thin of a backfield if something catastrophic happens with Josh Jacobs between now and the season. And so, the veteran free agent running back market is pretty poor. It's specifically not very talented players who, like Najee Harris, who also suffered very serious injuries last year. So you have a not great player coming off of a truly terrifying injury. Antonio Gibson even like tore his ACL. These are the types of guys that would probably make a little bit of sense there. So I think that you see something more. There was speculation, which I think is right, that the Arizona Cardinals would be the first place I would go to look for a running back. They signed Tyler Algier. Arizona beat. I should have wrote down his name, but somebody posted that if I think Nate Tice said, if I were the Packers, I would be calling up Arizona to see if I could get Tyler Algier. Now, I agree with that. I think Tyler Algier would rock on the Packers, but Cardinals beats sort of push back on that, saying the Cardinals don't want to give up Tyler Algier. They just paid the man. I know they drafted Jeremiah Love. I know that was stupid, but they didn't say that. I'm saying that. That it was stupid to sign Algier and then draft Jeremiah Love and bring back James Conner. But I think that the beats are basically saying, I think that they would part with Trey Benson. They may have to cut Trey Benson. So I think you could get Trey Benson for nothing, maybe even James Conner for almost nothing. And so those would be the first names that pop to my head. I think everybody said I'm doing nothing but wildly speculating, but it also, if we're connecting dots on a team that has probably 4 running backs that are NFL level caliber running backs, remains to be seen with Trey Benson. But that's where I would go if I were the Packers. And then, of course, as you said, there's Najee Harris. There's the Antonio Gibsons of the world that are out there that would be functional veterans, but they have some very serious health issues, right? Yeah. We could also wildly speculate. I don't think the Packer or the Steelers want to get rid of Jaylen Warren. I think they want Jaylen Warren and Rico Dowdle to be their guys. Say maybe are they fully done with Caleb Johnson? I don't know. What I'm doing specifically as it pertains to best ball drafts right now, if I'm over like in a time box type tournament, like the Pomeranian on Underdog, or the Tutties on DraftKings, the $2 specifically on Drafters, but even in like the main event on Drafters, I'm willing to mix in some of these. Like, it's always nice to have additional late round running back bodies. I'm a little bit happy still buying Chris Brooks at the prices I've sort of seen him going right now, but it's a little bit uncomfortable. I do have him. I've had him ranked ahead of ADP for the whole summer, so that's part of it for me. But I would also be willing to I took my first Trey Benson share yesterday, and it was just it's a last round running back. I think Trey Benson still has a little bit of talent, and he has multiple different ways. Like he's probably going to end up on a different roster as it is. If he stays on the Cardinals, that's not ideal. But welcome to the 18th or 20th round of best ball drafts at running back. It's a tough bet. If those guys were such good bets, they would be going much higher. So I think in like some of the time box stuff, that's of interest to me to just throw some darts at this at the back end, but also, like I said, see what happens with this Josh Jacobs price. Because there is going to come a certain point where, even though I'm not a big Josh Jacobs fan, where the juice is worth the squeeze, right? We have to balance the risk versus the reward and the upside. What do I win when I win? Like, getting Josh Jacobs 1 round cheaper, it's appealing because of the fact that Rashee Rice and Malik Neighbors are in the 3rd round, but it's not really making it. It's just Malik Neighbors versus Ladd McConkey or something, right? Your Josh Jacobs teams are taking Malik Neighbors, which is great. That's amazing. I'm not saying I wouldn't prefer the Malik Neighbors side, but I'm saying it's sort of a 1v1 type situation where these are still pretty top NFL wide receivers. And in, like on Underdog, you're not playing against the other Malik Neighbors teams until week 15. So like, I don't want to go too crazy with that 1v1. Like, I may not even run into many Malik Neighbors teams in the course of the playoffs. And so I really do want to get the discount that I can. I don't want to like search out the absolute basement price, because then I would just never get him. But if I liked him more than I did, I would certainly be really trying to extract some value out of this situation, because I think he's just going to continue to drop like a rock. Before we talk about Bucky Irving, let's hit some of these. Kamara is a good one. I think Kamara is pretty likely to get cut, so he would make a lot of sense. He's oddly redundant with Chris Brooks, because Kamara is nothing but a passing down back anymore. I think that would be bullish for Chris Brooks, like generally speaking. I mean, no signing would be the most bullish, but generally speaking, Alvin Kamara is pretty cooked, um, especially as a runner. So I would be totally still fine with a Chris Brooks if it's an Alvin Kamara type situation. Yeah, Eckler, another one that is out there, kind of the same thing. Those are like role players that there would be, and whether it's Chris Brooks or you prefer Marshawn Lloyd, those guys would still be valuable regardless of what happens with an Eckler or a Kamara or something like that. This is funny. 0 chance Alvin Kamara moves to Wisconsin. Yeah, I can't really imagine Alvin Kamara playing in Green Bay all year, but that's a funny one. Yeah, I think a Garendo or some, so Kalen Black is obviously not going anywhere from the 49ers. And it's all the reports seem to be that they like Jordan James a lot. So Isaac Garendo would make quite a bit of sense. I don't know if he's from Wisconsin, but played there in college. So that would maybe make, I don't think NFL teams care about that. I'm not sure that Garendo cares about that, but Garendo probably wants to play football. So that I think would make sense, but that you get the gist, like those kind of guys, Trey Benson, Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, Antonio Gibson, Isaac Garendo, James Conner. I'm sure I'm forgetting plenty of names that if you want to just take shots in the dark, especially I think in these time box tournaments, again, the Pomeranian, the $2 that's pretty close to full on drafters, these DraftKings tournaments that kind of keep launching and launching and launching. I think that those are pretty good spots to try to take some shots there. But you can also then take some shots on, oh man, I got Josh Jacobs to fall to the 6th round or something like that. Like, okay, let's take a swing. It's one team, it's $2 or it's $3 or whatever. But if it hits, you got something really impactful out of it. All right, let's talk about Bucky Irving super quickly, because I think that is sort of the next notable thing. It was a real whirlwind on the Bucky Irving front from a news perspective. I just want to say, I don't mean to get on my soapbox or whatever, but the royal me, all of us need to calm the fuck down when we get quotes or whatever and take a fucking breath. Like this quote at the bottom comes out from, this quote in the middle here comes out from Todd Bowles, right? Todd Bowles is being interviewed after OTAs, and they're asked about Bucky Irving because Bucky Irving is not participating right now. And he had a shoulder. I always screw up shoulder and say shoulder. Had a shoulder injury in which he had surgery, and he's recovering. And so Todd Bowles says, if you didn't hear this, when do you guys expect Bucky Irving to be back? And he said, I expect him sometime during the summer or the fall. And everybody completely ignored the fact that he said summer and said fall. The season's in the fall. Like that's like halfway through the season. Like what the, and our brains get fried. We completely lose all sense of nuance and common sense, and just say, oh my God, it's over for Bucky. He's not going to play this year. They're not getting him back until Thanksgiving. Undraftable. And despite the fact he says we expect him back during the summer, also, what if I'm a guessing man, if I'm a betting man and a guessing man, as Pepper Tony says, the simplest explanation here is Todd Bowles just didn't speak very eloquently. He wasn't specific. Like the people got out their calendars and like, what's the first date of fall? Oh my fucking God. As if Todd Bowles thought this through. Like he's just talking in the interview, as you said, Todd Bowles just means like in the fall, which is what we equate to the football season. Right. But everybody says fall. Oh my God, Bucky Irving's never going to play again, And it's like, no, like, and immediately, like 5 hours later, Adam Schefter comes out and says exactly what the summer part of it says, which is they expect Bucky to be back in training camp. So all that fall stuff was just Todd Bowles like not using his words very well. We all slip up. I'm going to slip up several times on this stupid best ball stream, right? Like take a beat, take a breath. He misspoke. It was a poor choice of words. But what he really meant is he's not ready now. He's working his way back. We expect him back sometime, We don't know yet. Training camp, preseason, whatever. But he'll be back at some point, which was like totally fine. It was a totally reasonable thing to say. He just chose his words poorly. And the real point here is, if you didn't like Bucky, no problems. I didn't really love Bucky either. But we're getting some nice falls here because we're getting some nice pun, unintended, but now intended. We're getting some nice falls because Todd Bowles said the word fucking fall. And we've all collectively lost our minds. It's over for Bucky. Whatever. So anyway, Todd Bowles doesn't understand seasons and how that works. That's not super bullish for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But if you didn't know that Todd Bowles wasn't super bullish for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for fantasy football anyway, without Tom Brady, I know he's been fine with the early parts of Baker, but Todd Bowles is sort of holding back, right? From an offense perspective, this is a defensive head coach. This is he's a very boomerish type head coach. He's really not the bull case for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, nor is he the bull case for Bucky Irving. Bucky has his own set of issues. The injury is, of course, one of them, but I'm not aren't you worried? Aren't you worried about Bucky Irving's shoulder now because Todd Bowles says he might not be back till fall? I'm not any more worried than I was before. It's not. So that's the thing. It's like, aren't you worried about it? Yes, I was already fucking worried about it. If I wasn't worried about Bucky Irving's injury, he would not go, frankly, where he goes. He's a really good football player. His issues are, of course, the injury and the fact that they have Kenny Gainwell. Sean Tucker's been there. Sean Tucker's goal line back, which is also not nothing. That's another, aren't you worried? But my worry with Bucky Irving is not about any of this news stuff, which is we just run, right? Content creators, we run to I got to post a YouTube short, or I got to post something on social media that says, oh my God, he said fall, Bucky, sell, which is also bizarre to be we have to sell now. It's well, everybody's trying to sell. You're going to sell the floor because you overreacted to one word that Todd Bowles said. But I'm sort of seeing where Bucky's going to fall as well. Similar to the Josh Jacobs thing, a little bit different, of course, a lot different from a real life perspective. But from the falling perspective, I think we're going to continue to get falling Bucky Irving. I am going to move him down a little bit in the rankings, but it has more to do with the fact that I think I was probably not evaluating how much they like and how maybe good, frankly, Kenny Gainwell is. So I'm probably going to move Kenny Gainwell up. I'm already ahead on Sean Tucker via ADP if you use our rankings. I like Sean Tucker fine, but I'm going to move Kenny Gainwell up and Bucky Irving down a little bit. But again, I think sometimes these types of things happen and you're not actually specifically reacting to the fact that Todd Bowles said he might not be back till fall, but you're it's a reminder. There's hundreds of players you have to think about, and you can't think about them all every single day. And it's a good reminder. It was a good reminder for me to be I do think maybe that overall, as I look at this situation, even though Bucky's going to be back and fine, I think Kenny Gainwell is a pretty good pick, and I would like to get a little more value out of Bucky Irving. Yeah. Todd Bowles meant OMG says, I think he meant we'll see how far Bucky falls. Yeah, this is market manipulation by Todd Bowles. Go check. Are there Kalshi bets that you can bet on how many spots Bucky Irving falls? Go check for Todd Bowles' Kalshi account to see what's going on over there. Obviously, I assume that's not true, but I don't use the prediction markets right now. It's a 3-man backfield, easy pass. So that's if you're talking about Bucky, that's sort of understandable because he's the expensive guy in the 3-man backfield. But what I would also say is for if you're going to play them in your season long league, if you're going to try to play one of these guys in DFS at the start of the season, I think that's totally fair. I think if you are playing best ball and you avoid backfields that have multiple guys, what we like to call ambiguous backfields, I think you're actually going to end up missing on a lot of really big hits if you avoid, just because it's a 3-man backfield. I don't want to pay mega extreme prices for 3-man backfields, but we're already not doing that. Bucky goes close to pick 50 on Underdog. You're not paying that much. Kenny Gainwell goes at 110, and Sean Tucker goes in the last round-ish. So what happens in these 3-man backfield is you actually sort of get a discount because there's 3 guys and because we have week 1 brain and we think about week 1 and we say like, well, they're going to play 3 different guys. How can I draft any of them? They're not any going to be useful. But what happens a lot of the times during the season is chaos, right? They played 3 guys last year: Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, and Sean Tucker. But Bucky missed time. Sean Tucker misses time. Rachaad White is boring, right? And like, oh, remember Sean Tucker, despite never being like the lead back of the offense, he had an absolutely nuclear week last year and has shown real weekly upside. In best ball, we're not just looking for the week 1 projection, the when we do our like season long projections, like who's the RB1, who's the RB2. If it were so simple as to just take the guys who had a locked in running back 1 role or running back 2 role or whatever in week 1, this game would be super easy. But chaos happens over the course of 17 weeks. And sometimes it can be advantageous. Like Bucky hurts his shoulder again. Now it's not a 3-man backfield. And now you have a non 3-man backfield with 2 guys who go after pick 110. Right. So that's sort of, is it going to play out that way for the Bucs? Maybe they play 3 guys and they all split the carries 33% a piece, and it does suck. But that's usually not how the NFL season plays out. You also get like hot hands, and price matters, right? So there's a lot that goes into it. It's not that the 3-man backfield stuff is irrelevant. It's not that you can't pass on some of the guys or what have you. But actually, oftentimes, these are situations to pounce on, because when chaos plays out, Kenny Gainwell is priced like he's in a 3-man backfield. But if something happens to Bucky or something happens to Sean Tucker, Kenny Gainwell is no longer an appropriate price. You got a good value on that guy. And it wasn't because, of anything that we knew over the course of the summer. It's chaos, and best ball is driven by chaos, and who wins in best ball is driven entirely by chaos. So we want to find the situations that you can stand to benefit from said chaos. Yeah. Most NFL teams roster 3 to 4 running backs, and most NFL teams play multiple running backs. Right. So there's only a few that play it in, the Christian McCaffrey level way. Like Jahmyr Gibbs is arguably the 101. Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson are the 101, 102. And Dave Montgomery's been taking a lot of work from Jahmyr Gibbs. Tyler Algier takes 25 to 30% of the work did take 25 to 30% of the work every single week away from Bijan Robinson. That's a 2-man backfield, and Bijan Robinson's the 101. Now, no one's saying Bucky Irving or Kenny Gainwell or Sean Tucker or whatever are that level of talent, but we are saying like you can stand to benefit from these types of situations, right? Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle were a 2-man backfield last year. Trevor Etienne also got to play some, and chaos plays out. Chuba gets dinged, and Rico Dowdle is one of the best picks on the board. The year prior, they draft Jonathan Brooks. The Panthers draft, right? They didn't have Rico Dowdle. They draft Jonathan Brooks, and they have Chuba Hubbard. But Jonathan Brooks can't stay healthy. Chuba Hubbard becomes one of the best picks in fantasy. He was a stone cold smash 2 years ago. It's not because there were multiple. It was like he was always going to get all the work. No, chaos played out in their favor, right? Jonathan Brooks got hurt again after coming off of an ACL tear, and Chuba Hubbard played well and then consolidated the backfield because they kind of needed him too. Another good reason to talk about think about the archetypes of these players and such. Just a couple of literally 2 super duper quick hitters. There's more news out there. Go check out Coach Speak Index. It's my favorite resource to 32 beat writers, and go search out 32, the number 32 beat writers, and Coach Speak Index. Greg does an amazing job with all the Coach Speak stuff. Invaluable for your fantasy football research and just staying in the know about what's going on. And your training camps are picking up. OTAs, but soon to be real training camp are going to be going, and you're going to want to be having access to all the quotes and not have to seek them out yourself. So join Coach Speak Index. Just really quickly, because it's not like major news, but I did find Patrick Mahomes out there practicing already. I mean, this clip is like such a nothing burger. Like, I mean, I'm not. Patrick Mahomes could probably do this a couple months ago, even despite the ACL tear. But what's important is not the specific video and how he looks. Let's diagnose his knee in this video. What is important is aren't you worried about Patrick Mahomes starting week 1? No, I haven't been for a little while, and I certainly am not now that he's practicing at the end of May. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be just fine for week 1. The only real concern with Patrick Mahomes that I've had is how much is he going to run? How much is he going to scramble? Are we just getting straight pocket passer Mahomes, who can't move around quite as well and is not running as much as he did? He ran about 4 times a game for real yardage, and it was not a huge part of his fantasy portfolio, but specifically the scrambling around. And you guys watch Patrick Mahomes. Watch the tape, bro. You watch Patrick Mahomes. He runs around like a madman. It's like, some of his best plays are from avoiding a sack and scrambling out and throwing off his back foot 40 yards down the field. He usually airmails those throws, but still, he needs to create stuff with his legs. And if he's unable to create things, misspeaking. There's my Todd Bowles moment number 1. Start a tally. If he's unable to run around like peak Patrick Mahomes, it is going to hurt his fantasy value. But in terms of week 1 role, no issues at all for Patrick Mahomes. Then the last thing, just because I'm a Parker Washington stan, it was a rough couple of years as a Parker Washington bro. It reminds me of being an Alec Pierce bro. Rough first couple seasons for old Parker. He was bad. Sometimes he couldn't get on the field. When he did get on the field, he was woefully inefficient. But then last year, specifically down the stretch, this is why I like to talk about growth is not linear. We stare at the prior season a lot because it's the most applicable and relevant data point we have in our fantasy football research. And we just say, well, look, last year, how bad he was. Look, last year, he, only played X amount, or he only earned X amount of targets, or, like his yards per route run, or his success rate, or his EPA per play, or his whatever, these nerdy ass stats that we like to look at. Like he was bad in the right yards after contact, whatever. He was bad in all this kind of stuff. And it's like, growth is not linear. Sometimes guys figure things out, right? Steph Curry was not Steph Curry when he first got into the league. Victor Wembanyama, you guys are probably watching, Victor Wembanyama was bad last night, but Victor Wembanyama wasn't Victor Wembanyama the first part of his. It takes some time, and then sort of sometimes it can click, and you're like growing like this. Maybe there's even a little dip, and then there's a spike, and now you've sort of become good, seemingly out of nowhere. Obviously, Devontae Adams being the clearest example of like, holy shit, this guy sucked for multiple seasons, and all of a sudden he's the best wide receiver on planet Earth. That's not going to happen, and that is definitely not Parker Washington. But as a Parker Washington bro, I did want to shout out that John Shipley, phenomenal beat for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You should also follow him. Mentioned Parker Washington looked like arguably the best player on the field today. He says, albeit in shorts and helmet. But I think if part of your Jags process is, well, Parker was bad for 2 years, it was a small sample where he was good, I just want to express a word of caution on that, because I think we're actually getting a good price to find out if the end of year Parker is actually Parker. Like, Parker was better. So like we think about Michael Wilson in a similar light, like, he was bad for a couple of years and then he popped off, but Marv was out and they were throwing a bunch. Parker was better, and better for an extended period, than Michael Wilson was. It's really like indisputable. Michael Wilson was actually probably better than the framing of, it was all bullshit, it was all luck. He was playing well. He was playing efficiently, and he was playing legitimately high-level wide receiver in the NFL. But it's a smaller sample, and even to that degree, or even to that point, Parker was better. Parker was outstanding last year and over the course of the whole season. So even if you take into account the first little stretch of the season where he was not quite as good, right? And Travis Hunter's playing full-time slot receiver, Parker Washington was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL over the entire season from an efficiency perspective, earning targets, like everything last year. Whereas Michael Wilson was just at that level for a month. And there was some context that relates to that does not apply to the new season for Michael Wilson. Whereas everything is the same for Parker Washington. I mean, Travis Hunter is back, but I don't think that's changing a whole lot of Parker Washington's role. So really doesn't mean a whole lot if you liked Parker Washington before. Just more reason to like Parker Washington again. But just wanted to call that out. All right, time to draft some teams. I want to draft over on DraftKings, and let's do. I have a ticket to this $3. How about who wants to do the $3? I'm trying to slow down on my milli makers, and I've been good about the $3. I need 10 folks to come join me in this $3 because I'm 41 millis in already on DraftKings, and I need to slow down the pace. I need to slow down the pace. So somebody help me out in the $3. I know everybody's also trying to keep it in their pants with the $3 as well, because we only get to draft 20 of them. But I think this is only my third, if I recall. And sometimes these can be a little bit trickier to fill. Did I just hear Trevor Etienne to the moon? Absolutely not. Trevor Etienne is fucking terrible. Greg says he will take Bucky in round 5 and chase the ambiguity. I like it. Is it fair to say perhaps Todd Bowles is confused about when summer ends and fall begins? Yeah. I think somebody said it, right? That bang. Wheel Route says fall equals football season for boomers. That's what he means, right? That's what people say in the fall, because they're talking about the football season. He doesn't mean that specific season, right? He doesn't mean winter versus fall versus spring versus summer. He means the fall as in football season. That's what he means. Oh, nice. We filled. Oh, and I got the 103. That's beautiful. Let's see. We're in trouble if we hear Todd Bowles say we have to recreate Bucky's shoulder in the aggregate. That is good. My worries about Bucky as an undersized player coming off physical and mental health issues. Hard to draft him over Scadaboo or Henderson. Zero pushback. I have zero pushback on that. I don't draft him over Cam Scadaboo. And Travion Henderson, I think, is better at football than Bucky Irving. And Bucky Irving's pretty good at football. I have absolutely zero pushback on if you want to push him, right? So let's just look real quick. So from an ADP perspective, Bucky is going 50th. So if you wanted to say, here's how I sort of think about it. If you want to say, okay, I like Judkins better, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Travion Henderson. But once we get into this, once we start to get into Jadarian Price, Bashal Tutin, Chuba Hubbard, certainly, so pick 60 maybe. If you wanted to say, once we start to get into this range, like, come on, what is the difference? Like, Jadarian Price, the only difference is that he's a rookie and you don't know how good he is. But if Jadarian Price is as good as a Bucky Irving, that's a win. He also will probably be in a 3-man backfield when Zach Charbonnet comes back. Now, Zach Charbonnet is hurt, right? But Jadarian Price is probably not going to play on passing downs and all those kinds of things. So he has his own issues. Bashal Tutin. I really like Bashal Tutin. I've drafted 15% of Bashal Tutin thus far. He is also in a 3-man backfield. We also don't really know exactly how good he is. He's also in a good offense, but he has Chris Rodriguez and he has LaQuint Allen to deal with in his backfield. So it's like tier, right? This is why the tiers and understanding pockets of drafts is so important, because yeah, if you wanted to say, look, I just can't take him. Yeah, I can't take him over Scadaboo. I can't take him over Judkins. I can't take him over Demont or whatever. Absolutely zero pushback for me because of those issues. Like you said, health issues. He had mental health things that he was dealing with. Shout out to him for addressing that. But it's like, I totally understand if someone wanted to be cautious about him in general, given those issues. But it's like the Josh Jacobs thing. At a certain point, the risk versus reward, given the players that he's being drafted around, at a certain point, the upside pays off. I think on a site like DraftKings, where he's such a funny guy, he's not the passing down back because he's not a good pass protector. That's where Kenny Gainwell is going to come in. But he does catch passes. They manufacture him receiving work. Like, he catches a bunch of passes. So on a site like DraftKings also a little bit better for his archetype, not just receiving, but touchdowns are just devalued a little bit. I mean, they're still the most important thing in our game, but full PPR, right? Those are extra points he can get there, and 100-yard bonus type stuff. So the guys who catch passes and are efficient runners can make up some of the value that they lose on underdog in half PPR with no bonuses. Ooh, Mo 2. Beautiful, beautiful dog for the audio listeners. Mo has an absolutely beautiful puppy as his avatar, which you'll always get your comment pulled up unless you spell my name, ERIC. You'll get your comment pulled up on the stream. Bucky Irving or Carnell Tate. Here's a total cop-out. I prefer Bucky, but I also think this is team dependent, right? The typical kind of cop-out cliche bullshit answer, but it's true that, if I start strong at wide receiver and I need a running back in those 50s, 60s, Bucky makes for a great pick and probably a better pick than Carnell Tate. If I'm a little bit stronger on running back to start, right? Or I take Josh Allen or I take Brock Bowers or something like that, and I'm a little bit behind at wide receiver, Carnell Tate is an awesome pick at his price. So it's cheating. If you said gun to my head, quit with this nuance bullshit, quit with this, it depends. Who do you take? I would take Bucky, but I like both of them, right? It's comparing two picks that I think are both pretty good. Awesome question. If Josh Jacobs isn't there, the run game is worse. Should we bump up Love, Reed, Golden, and play it that way? Easy late stacks. I think that's a great way to play it. I think the Packers passing game stacks are already a bit undervalued. If we remove Josh Jacobs as their sort of like boomer lean on this, thumping running back that they have, and we have to put it in Jordan Love's hands a little bit more, I think it's an awesome way to play it. Awesome way to play it. I'm mad that you brought it up and I didn't bring it up, because I already like the Packers stacks. And it's he is sort of, if you've listened before on the channel, I've talked about the concept of the identity back that Ben Gretsch coined years ago. It's like Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, like those guys are identity backs, which means the offensive identity is sort of built around that player. And if they no longer have that player, the identity of the offense has to change at least somewhat. Josh Jacobs is not quite to that level, but I do think they are unlikely to lean on a back. Wow. I'm going to take Derrick Henry. Don't yell at me. Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry. We got to do it. I got to get at least one Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry team in my portfolio. They, of course, play in week 17. That's why. But I think if you remove Josh Jacobs from the Packers offense, they're pretty likely to lean a little bit more on the pass. So I would include Tucker Kraft in that as well. Of course, he's a difficult one because of the injury, but Watson, Reed, Golden, Kraft, Jordan Love. You can toss on Chris Brooks. I think make for a really good stack. My God, I haven't drafted on DraftKings in literally just like the last 2 days. And holy shit, Neighbors. Okay. So I have 22% Neighbors, but 60% of my Chase teams have him. Whereas I actually have a little bit more Rashee, but only 20% of my Chase teams have Rashee. So I'm gonna take Rashee here. And this is my first time drafting Derrick Henry. So the exposures with Derrick Henry are completely irrelevant. Don't want to burn that. No, I don't want to burn I scooped up a 555 ticket last night in the baseball DFS streets, and we're going to hang on to that one for a little bit. I'm going to try to stockpile some tickets there. Yeah, this is true. Green Bay plays week 17 versus Houston. The beauty, like, I don't want to be counting on my Green Bay stacks in week 17 for sure, but they can help you get there. Right? They play a totally fine schedule all season, and they play Miami in week 15. Like, what if they get you through the Miami game and into week 16? They play Chicago. That's fine. I mean, it's outdoors in Chicago in December is not ideal, but Bears, Packers could have plenty of points. Now, you get to week 17, you might just need your other team, your other stack, right? That's why it also helps that they're cheaper. It's like, okay, you draft Lamar with Zay and you pair them with Love and Reed or whatever, right? I'm just making something up. It's like, well, maybe the Packer stack helps you get through it's good for the whole regular season. And then it helps you get through maybe week 15. And then you pass the baton to Lamar Jackson it still has utility. Like these stacks can still have major utility, even if they're not the like stone nuts in week 17. Or like Bo Nix, here, another example. Bo Nix plays at Las Vegas. That seems totally fine. Against Buffalo, that seems totally fine. And then at New England is like, I don't love that. But it's like, okay, well, if he help you get through 2 weeks, great. If he's good for the regular season, great. Not everything has to be entirely a week 17 smash. What the hell? Wyatt says he was looking through his early DK Millie Maker drafts and saw he had a late third, 37th overall Brock Bowers share. Why was he ever going there? I know there was a stretch. There was a weird stretch that no one in the best ball streets can understand, can figure out why it was happening. But Bowers was falling to like the mid third round for a little stretch. 37 is probably the latest I've ever seen. That's absolutely fucking insane. But there was a weird little stretch where just I don't even know why. No one can figure out why. It's the great black box situation for Brock Bowers. But he was falling for like a couple weeks. I know it sounds insane because the contest's only been open for a month, but there was like a week or something stretch early on, like you said, where it was like, oh, look, I got Brock Bowers at 32. No, it was only a very small amount of drafts, but still, that's crazy. This is a good point. Flyfish says, probably wise not to take Bull's quotes on Bucky too seriously. He totally faked Coach Speak Index out on rookie Bucky. Don't want to take Greg's spin too seriously. It's more art than science. Yeah, I mean, Greg is phenomenal. Greg is the best resource in the game, but like the most valuable thing about any news-related type thing are the quotes and the specific things that coaches are saying. We can all speculate differently on the takeaways from the quotes, right? Like I'm speculating in this show about Loveland, but I don't have Terry with. Hold on, I'm trying to check my. I don't have Terry with Jamar Chase. I don't have Loveland with Jamar Chase, but I do have. Let's do Terry. Let's do Terry. That's the thing with all, 32 beat writers, Coach Speak Index and stuff, is the power of it is go read and get your own takeaways from the quotes. Don't take a middleman from it. It's not that you can't listen to the middleman and hear, oh, that's interesting, they have a different perspective, or I agree with that takeaway or whatever. But yeah, like this stuff is absolutely an art. Just because the coach says something doesn't mean that's actually what plays out in the regular season, or certainly not the fantasy playoffs and chaos, all that shit, right? Hold on. 100% of my Chase Rice teams have Burden and Lamar. That's interesting. And now I'm going to end up taking Burden again if this guy doesn't. Interesting. Burrow goes. Okay. 100% of my current Chase Rice teams have Luther Burden, but I'm still taking Luther Burden at pick 51. You can't stop me. You can only hope to contain me. Neighbors in the late third seems too good to pass up. Yep. CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley, Malik Neighbors is insane. Insane. Think about showing up to week 17 with CeeDee Lamb playing against Malik Neighbors, and you also have Saquon Barkley on your team. You might have 3 first-round picks on that team, and I don't even really like Saquon. But CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley, Malik Neighbors, that's absurd. Absolutely absurd. Had an injury tag. Thank you, Camp Jones. Great. Caddy Kev. So is that you, Caddy Kev, in your avatar? I'm a big avatar analyzer. You ask a coach an on-the-spot question, and you're probably going to get some gibberish. Yeah, like if you guys ask me a question right now, I'm going to answer it, but I may mumble through some stuff. I may I always use the word spitballing. It's like one of my phrases. Like that's the coach is sort of spitballing on the spot. Like you ask him a question, he's like, "Well, I like know the answer, but I'm like gonna think it through and I'm gonna talk it through out loud." You can't take every word verbatim when you ask someone a question. That's not like they didn't pre-plan. You know what I mean? They didn't pre-plan their answer to this because they don't even know what the questions are going to be. See, their pick 59 Bucky is pretty nice. And again, goes after Travion, after Judkins, after Demont, after Swift, in the Jadarian Price, in the Bashal Tootin tier. Also on, oh my fucking God. It's the same. Are you in here? MJS 1847, CeeDee Lamb, Saquon. I'll trade you teams right now. CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley, Malik Neighbors, Mecca, Buka, and Bucky Irving. That's sick. That is sick. Yeah, I never got a crazy Brock Bowers faller either. I don't think. I can check. Hold on. Let me look. Oh. Let's go to Draft IQ and I can look. Let's go to DraftKings. I guess it doesn't have to be in the millie, right? We'll just look in the millie. Brock Bowers. Average ADP is 19 because I pull them up all the time. I thought that we had anyway. I'll come back to it. Irving went right after Tate. See, everybody, it was a great question. Carnell Tate versus Bucky Irving, and they're getting Reg is on underdog. What's yours? No, I didn't, but we can take a look shortly. I do plan to do an underdog draft after this for the folks. Oh, baby. This is why I told you. This is why we take. This is why I knew the right thing was to take Terry McLaurin there so I can get Jayden Daniels here. I totally pre-planned it. Just don't ask me about it on the spot. Dare I say, fun team, fun start. Not quite MJS's team over there, though. I'm not a big Jadarian Price guy. I mean, Pepper Tony says, are you saying we should use primary sources? I only read Twitter headlines. If you want to know, honest to God, the biggest flaw, this is maybe hyperbole, but also maybe not. I think one could make the case that the biggest flaw of many best ball drafters, fantasy football drafters, or whatever, that are genuinely like following the news is they only scroll Twitter and look at headlines and look at the whatever the thing that's laid out in the tweet. Like one of the best things you can do is go actually read the quotes yourself, go find the actual source and look it up. Don't just take what your buddy said. Don't just take what someone said on a tweet. Don't just take a YouTube short or whatever. Go find the primary resource and read it yourself. Right? It's like Coach Speak Index is like, okay, I guess technically not the primary source, but he's just all he's doing is taking now BTJ as the bring back to the baby. BTJ bring back to my Daniels and McLaren stacks. McLaurin. I'm in F1 mode. It's about to be the Monaco Grand Prix for my fellow F1 fans in a week and a half. 7 rounds, Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry. That's fun. That's the most fun way to draft Derrick Henry is what I will say. Among very many unfun ways to draft Derrick Henry. Of course, they play in week 17. Rashee Rice, discussed that one. Took Terry McLaurin, Luther Burden, and then got Jayden Daniels with Terry McLaurin and Brian Thomas, who also plays in that same game on the opposite side. Yeah, this team rocks. As I said, I like the 111's team, but I don't want to fawn over other people's teams when we're still building a good one. Are you starting to get Are you starting to get off the early season meta that RB heavy is the gotta have start, or do you have some later 0 RB-ish guys you're drafting? So I've sort of pushed back a little bit all summer that you need to draft early running back. Like for instance, in Best Ball Mania, I'm running a fun 2026 experiment where I'm drafting entirely 0 running back teams. I do draft more early running backs, of course, on drafters and cumulative scoring, of course, in like the eliminator or whatever. And on DraftKings, it's really funny because the scoring settings are better for wide receiver and tight end heavy starts. That's just how the DraftKings score. It's more advantageous for receivers. But the DraftKings market is better for you can build like you cannot get, in order to take like Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, Terry McLaurin, and Luther Burden on the same team on Underdog, I'd have to take them with my first 4 picks. But I get to mix in Derrick Henry in the middle on DraftKings. So you can take those detours to running back on DraftKings easier and still build teams that have a ton of wide receiver or tight end firepower or quarterback firepower or whatever. So it's funny because DraftKings is better for like a 0-ish, hero-ish running back approach, but I'm taking more early running backs on DraftKings because the market allows me to and doesn't punish me for it. On Underdog, I also believe that half PPR is hilariously a bit better for, man, what a quarterback run we got here. 4 in a row. 4 in a row and 6 in 10 picks. Jesus Christ. We've hit the red wedding. On Underdog, it's better for running backs, but it's better for all running backs. So I think a pivot away from the heavy early running back strategy that most take on Underdog. You don't have to do this on all your teams. But test it out, get a little bit uncomfortable. Take a higher quantity of running backs on your team, but maybe a little bit later than you would normally take them. So I have a bunch of 0 running back type candidates that I love on all sites. So to answer your question, I'm like kind of all over the place, admittedly, in how I draft my teams, but I'm applying it a little bit different to each site. I'm applying it different to certain tournaments. I'm applying it different to, right? So like Best Ball Mania, I'm taking this home run swing that like if this one off the wall concept, right, a 0 RB off the wall, but if this one off the wall concept hits on Underdog, Jaylen Warren is nice. He is on 100% of my, but this is a pretty damn good price on Jaylen Warren. I think we just take the good price. Is the correct move here. Running back is something that I need. We just buy Jaylen Warren here at 94. But like I said, I'm in like Best Ball Mania. My approach is, if sort of everyone's wrong about this running back market thing, I'm going to have 150 shots on goal to try to win $2 million. If I'm wrong, like I'm still going to have some good teams. You're not going to advance 0 teams. I'm still going to advance some teams. I can still win. But if it doesn't work, I'll just hope to win on DraftKings. I hope to win on drafters. I'll hope to win the eliminator. I'll hope to win on fast draft or whatever. So yeah, I'm sort of in the middle on the whole running back debate. Yeah, this is a great point. Pi says, I love early season 0 running back. I might have a bunch of dead teams, but if my read on teams' running back rooms is close to correct, I can build super teams full of future risers that will be impossible later. I agree. Right. If you'd been drafting Chris Brooks beforehand, like on 0, the biggest power that a late round rising running back has is on, 0 hero, those types of running back teams. It is getting uncomfortable at running back here. And I don't have any stacks. Kittle. Damn, it's a good price on Jayden Reed too. I don't think Jordan Love's getting back. I'm just gonna take Brock Purdy. I have I don't expect Kittle's gonna get back to me. I don't expect Pearsall is going to get back to me, right? But I have Stribling in my back pocket. I'm also trying to get a little bit more. Brock Purdy, I think he's fine with just Stribling or just Christian Kirk. I've tossed Jordan James onto that team or something. I think it's totally fine. I didn't have an option for a quarterback that was correlated to any of my pass catchers until like Aaron Rodgers with Jaylen Warren, which I don't want to do. And so, I could have tried to backstack Malik Willis or whatever. But as you guys look at all the red on the freaking screen here. Like, quarterback is about to dry up. One of my priorities, probably my biggest priority of this season, is to make sure that I don't get buried in my drafts at the quarterback position. Last 3 years, it's been piss boy start. For anybody that doesn't know what piss boy start means, it means really wide receiver heavy at the start, and then a hero running back team and a hero running back team that have taken down the flagship in the last 3 seasons. So despite the fact that there's all this, like, we got to draft all these early running backs love, I think it's a little misguided. It's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with drafting early running backs. It's just a way to win, but it is not the only way to win. And oftentimes what happens is we get these narratives in our head in fantasy football, or we stare at last year's results and we're like, if I don't draft early running backs, it's over. And it's like, it's not true. There are multiple seasons in the last 5 years. It's basically been a coin flip whether a 0 RB team was better or hero RB teams were better. It's been coin flips. It's just we're stuck in like, oh man, Derrick Henry and Bijan and Saquon and Jonathan Taylor, and these guys have been such smashes and they've all stayed healthy and all this kind of stuff. And we haven't maybe gotten quite the same hits from the mid to late running backs. Greg is a fellow piss boy who was sad that piss boy isn't getting used as much as it used to. Well, you were in the right place for some piss boy drafts. That is for sure. Yeah, see, look at all these quarterbacks. Like, I couldn't have even gotten Love or Willis. Pearsall does go. Kittle does go. It was close. We almost got Pearsall or Kittle to come back to us, though. I'm going to take Kenny Gainwell here. As I mentioned, I'm moving Gainwell up a little bit. I got to finish the rankings updates. I was about to have rankings updates done yesterday, and then all the Bucky drama and Josh Jacobs drama. And then I went for a naked victory lap around the neighborhood when Parker Washington was the best player in Jaguars camp. So I got a little distracted yesterday. Yeah, the red wave is really scary on DraftKings. Just get your quarterbacks. Don't get into the terrible game of having to be like, well, I guess Geno might start 10 games. Hopefully Jacoby Brissett gives into this Cardinals stuff. I don't want. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers isn't totally cooked. Like, I don't want to get into that world. I don't believe. He says even on underdog RB start hasn't won BBM since Karain. I think that is correct. I believe that is correct. Okay, taking Marshawn Lloyd in the 16th round is wildly overreacting, isn't it? Happening fast and hard in media rooms. I think it's like, I'm not, as I mentioned, I'm not even some big Josh Jacobs guy, but that seems a little bit wild to me. Okay, I'm sorry. We're taking J.K. Dobbins here. I keep getting J.K. Dobbins on underdog because of my 0 RB builds here, but this kind of rocks. J.K. Dobbins at pick 123 is pretty sexy. So that's 11 picks. We're 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 5 wide receivers: Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry, Rashee Rice, Terry McLaurin, Luther Burden, Jayden Daniels, Brian Thomas Jr., Jaylen Warren, Brock Purdy, Kenny Gainwell, J.K. Dobbins. That's pretty sick. Dare I say, good team. Fun team. Was looking through my best teams from last year via Draft IQ, and I had multiple had 2 players from the same backfield. Look at this. Mo is a buy a backfield expert. He is in buy a backfield 301 now after graduating from buy a backfield 201 in 2025. We do love to see it. Big fan. There's a bunch of pretty appealing ones this year. It's also a really good way to counterbalance the early running back love, where if everyone else is drafting a bunch of early running backs and you maybe tread a little bit more lightly at the running back position early. Again, it doesn't mean you have to draft piss boy rooms or 0 running back rooms. It doesn't mean you have to do that. But like this, like I took Derrick Henry, and then for 6 until the 8th round, I didn't even really consider another running back. You can buy backfields, right? Take Warren and Dowdle. Take Kenny Gainwell, and like I say, I take Sean Tucker later. You can take Harvey and Dobbins. You can take Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. You can take Chuba's earlier, but like Chuba and Jonathan Brooks and Rashad White or Allen, and buy and sort of try to raise your floor, but also raise your ceiling in at least one guy. Whether it be, there's a bunch of different ways that can play out. They can both sort of sometimes be useful alongside each other. They can ping pong weeks. One kind can be good to start, and then maybe he gets hurt and he passes the baton to another guy. One guy's good all year, but you make it to week 17 and like, oh man, Kaytron Allen was useless all season because Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt was the guy, but then Bill's not playing in a playoff week, and now all of a sudden you have 0% owned. You're the only person with Kaytron Allen in the final. There's just like a million stories where this thing plays out and it helps. And the only downside is you spent 2 picks maybe on just one good pick, or they both suck. But like that same that downside also exists for taking running backs on 2 different teams. The same level of downside exists. The upside case of taking 2 running backs on separate teams, of course, is that you get 2 guys instead of just 1. So both are obviously viable. You're not doing an entire team of all guys from the same backfields. So I think mixing it in is amazing. One of my favorite tactics in all of best ball this year. Guess I should start looking at my queue again, huh? All right, I'm taking my boy Keaton here. I have a boatload of Keaton. The Keaton price on DraftKings is one of my favorites in all of drafts. That gives me 5 running backs. I'm going to take 3 tight ends. So I like to have a little bit better firepower at all the other positions when I'm going to take 3 tight ends. It gives me a little more flexibility if I really want to wait at tight ends and take some crappy guys at the end. Just gives me a little bit more flexibility to have some pretty solid locked in tight ends. This is a pretty good tight end range too. Let me just check. I mean, you guys know I really like Tajay, but I'm pretty comfortable passing on all this. Try to get my 49er later. I'm actually going, so I often take, as you see, I take more Chig, and I often take Chig with the guys that I have here. But Brenton Strange is on the opposite side of that game. I only have 4%. I don't have him with like any of these guys. And I'm still getting a tight end in that game. I'm getting more access to the Jaguars passing game, which is nice. And it's a nice little portfolio diversifier. I would often just like if I'm drafting on my phone, I probably would have just taken Chig, but without knowing, shout out to the draft hacker, right? Without knowing all of these different exposures. And it's not that I don't know that they play each other in week 17, but highlight, right? The blue is popping off my screen that they play in that game. And then I only have 4% Strange. Oh, I don't have Brenton Strange with any of these guys I drafted. Oh, I have Chig with a lot of these guys. And I draft Chig a lot with Jayden Daniels. Maybe let's do Brenton Strange this time. What is Chig is always Chig has yet to be the answer, but we always trying to think of a good analogy. Chig is definitely the answer we keep putting down on the test and keep wondering why we're stuck in 6th grade. You know what I mean? I swear Chig is the answer. You keep getting the test. You keep answering Chig. You keep failing the test. And all your buddies are in middle school now. And you're stuck back with the young kids. Like, that's what Chig has been in best ball for like 4 years. I was not even doing that much, but it worked well with Samson Judkins was a great one, and Travion and Ramondre they were great. They're outstanding examples of when that can work so well. And there's plenty of examples of like that over the course of the years. Vin says, can you roast my team in here for me when you finish up at month 109? Of course. Well, you started. We'll wait till the end. But you know what's coming when you started Jonathan Taylor and Ken Walker in a room with me. Although the rest of it looks pretty good. It's a pretty good team. Jonathan Taylor, Ken Walker start and needing Daniel Jones and Travis Hunter. I think you know where the roast would be. You could write your own jokes for this roast. Putting pressure on you now that you're on the clock. I have 44%. Chig, I'll stay in middle school forever. I really like Chig too. I draft a bunch of Chig. I draft a bunch of Daniels. Oh, look at Vin knew he was about to get roasted because he took the boomer running back start, and he drafted an elephant as his quarterback 2, and he drafted a cornerback as his wide receiver 6 in round 13. So he knew it was going to be a bad roast, and he was not going to feel super comfortable at the end of it. It was going to be like a Chelsea Handler moment of a roast. And he said, you know how I can offset that is taking Ryan Flanoy at pick 160. It does make me mad that you took Ryan Flanoy, but you salvaged the team. I don't like Pacheco this year, but I can't pass at that price, says Deadhead. He's a good one for sure. Yeah, I have so much Hawk. TJ Hawkinson is one of those guys for me. I just keep clicking him, especially in rooms like this. It's not that I like freaking love TJ Hawkinson. I just think when I keep getting TJ Hawkinson, the Vikings like probably are bouncing back on offense this year. He's still fine. He's not like a superstar, but like he goes next to Dalton Schultz now, and he used to go next to Jake Ferguson. Like it's hard for me to pass. Especially on a tight end room like this. And now hopefully the 102 lets me complete my all right, beautiful. Now we take Stribling to go with Purdy. So we're 15 rounds deep. 2, 5, 6, 2. Beautifully balanced roster with Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry, Rashee Rice, Terry McLaurin, Luther Burden, Jayden Daniels, Brian Thomas Jr., Jalen Warren, Brock Purdy, Kenny Gainwell, J.K. Dobbins, Keaton Mitchell. I do love that like round 8 to 12 running back range. It's pretty good. A pillar of my strategy this year. And then we're taking some cheap tight ends, Brenton Strange, TJ Hawkinson, and Dejon Stribling to go with Brock Purdy in our 49er stack. Hawk, the college prospect, was bona fide, reasonable bet. I also keep getting a ton of Hawk, and Hawk 2 years removed from knee injury with Kyler panic dumping to him. Yes, please. I'm with you guys. He's a good pick. Like, he goes next to AJ fucking Barner, man. Like, come on. Like, at least I can. Maybe Hawk is cooked and he doesn't give me much more than AJ Barner, but there's certainly a level of upside with with TJ Hawkinson that does not exist with AJ Barner or with Dalton Schultz or with, Hunter Henry. It's not that I even dislike some of those guys, but like the Hawkinson case, it seems pretty clear to me. This is a great point. Ertz coming back from the dead has me believing in a lot of likely washed. It's funny. Anytime we start talking about tight ends and the word likely is in there, and it throws me for a loop. It has me believing in a lot of probably washed veteran tight ends with pedigree. Like Zach Ertz just never died. Dalton Schultz is not dying. Hunter Henry is not dying, and those guys are not that good. Maybe they weren't that good to begin with, but they're like whatever. And like you said, Zach Ertz just kept on trucking, kept doing it. So for those listening, tomorrow I'm going to do like a current state of my portfolio review. Somebody was mentioning Draft IQ earlier and checking their teams from last year, which is awesome. Like I said, I'm 41 millis in, a handful of other drafts on DraftKings. I think I've done 15 BBMs and 25 drafters main events, plus, some other stuff, puppies and Pomeranians and whatever. So I'm going to try to do it like the end of each month and just be like, okay, here's where my exposure stands. Here's where my money stands. Here's where my, player combinations, whatever, find some of my gaps in my portfolio, and everything. Try to do that tomorrow. So tomorrow, then we'll also get back into the drafters streets and try to take advantage. I have a couple of free tickets to take advantage of from hitting my 25th draft. Ooh, wow, Christian Kirk, that's kind of fun. I'm gonna just go ahead and take Chris Brooks. Just I don't trust you guys. I wanted to get him on this team if we're doing a Josh Jacobs conversation. And he's going to steam up, I think. He's going to steam up. It's my 6th running back. If I wanted to stop there, I could. Not necessary. Probably. I'm pretty good at wide receiver. Probably 2, 7, 8, 3 is what this team's going to become. It's going to be my guess. I'm definitely going to take a third tight end. And I think when Warren, Gainwell, Dobbins, Keaton is fine. I would like a little bit more juice. And I mean, I have Chase, Rice, McLaurin, Burden, Brian Thomas Jr. is pretty good. But now I'm going to wrap up tight end with Freiermuth. He's my favorite late round tight end. Like when I say late, I mean 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th round. Like, who's your favorite late round tight end? And they're like, Jake Ferguson. I'm like, motherfucker, that's not late. It helps, of course, that's just these are like tiny little differences. I would like Pat Freiermuth on this team regardless, but I have Jaylen Warren, gives me the little extra secondary correlation, which can kind of be the tiebreaker on teams like that. So we got our 49ers stack. We got our 3 tight ends. Brenton Strange, TJ Hawkinson, Pat Freiermuth is pretty good. I think sort of like it's almost like kind of buying the dip on those guys. Brenton Strange was a somewhat popular name last year. And I mean, I liked him a lot. I drafted a lot of Brenton Strange. TJ Hawkinson has been going much higher than this for multiple seasons, whether his own injuries and play getting a little bit worse and the catastrophe that was the Vikings last year. Got a little bit of a discount. And Pat Freiermuth was once upon many moons ago going really, really a whole lot earlier than what he's going now. And I understand the concerns, but also Johnny Smith is gone. I think the Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers duo with the Steelers is going to throw a lot more. And you get Johnny Smith out of there. Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf are like fine starting wide receivers, but there's a good bit of upside, I think, in Pat Freiermuth back here. I mean, Darnell Washington is fun to love. He's like an alien. I think Darnell. I don't really have any mega pushback on the Darnell Washington thing, except he's a little more sixth offensive lineman than he is like going to be a stud all around. He was playing at like 300 and something pounds last year, and there's just a lower ceiling to a guy like Darnell Washington, how many routes they can run and the things that they can do at the wide receiver position, whereas Freiermuth can do it all at the tight end position. You know what I mean? Like, but functionally playing as a receiver. Are you taking any shots on the rookie tight end twos? Claire, Jolie, Hibner. Not on Claire and Hibner for me. Jolie is in wait and see mode. There was some speculation about Evan Ingram getting cut. I haven't seen anything tangible with other than, again, like some people speculating. But there's not a lot back there. I'm more on the veterans. So, but Jolie is the guy that's at least caught my eye a little bit back here. Man, Mike Washington really does keep falling. Pretty crazy. Is that week 15 to 17 data on their standard, or did I never notice it before? It is with the draft hacker. It is. I guess I would call it standard. I think pretty much everybody uses it. I don't know how everyone uses the draft hacker. That's the beauty of the draft hacker. Let's see. I'm gonna take. Should I do Lloyd or Katron? Let's do Katron as my last running back, Katron Allen. And then a couple of wide receiver shots here. Obviously, Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Katron Allen, Brenton Strange, and Brian Thomas Jr. all in a very fun Week 17 game. This is true. The reality is Rodgers is just going to throw the ball to whoever is open, or to whoever the hell he wants, regardless of if they're open. I mean, I also think Rodgers throws the ball to the open man as well. And there's a little bit of subtlety to that, right? Devontae Adams. But Devontae Adams is just like always open, back shoulder, whatever. So he will throw the ball to the guys he trusts. Shout out, Jonathan. Yeah, Spike Week Premium, we have an annual option. If you can pay $39.99 a month if you would prefer, or you can pay $200 for the entire year. That's calendar year 3. You buy it today, you get it until next year, May 27th. All right, some fun wide receiver punt time. Let's see. Let's find some correlation. Let's do. I keep doing the Ravens wide receiver stuff. But Wicks is staring me down because he's Wicks, as you see here, bring back, lighting up in blue, bring back to my Brock Purdy stack in week 17. Nothing screams I'm going to win the Millie like Brock Purdy, DeJon Stribling, and Dontavian Wicks week 17 stack, but I think it's the right pick. Goober been getting more into Freiermuth as a tight end 3 or tight end 2 on elite tight end builds. That's one thing I think I need to do better at, that maybe I'll try to, remind me tomorrow if you're here. I'm drafting a good clip of Freiermuth. I think I end up using him a lot more on late 3 tight end builds, and I need to do more of him with Bowers, McBride, Loveland, Fannin, Warren on 2 tight end teams. It's like I would let's look. Let's just look. We can investigate more later. But if I go to here's a quick and easy way to get a gist for this. But this is just in the Millie, right? So this is just 41 teams. But if I go to and I punch in Pat Freiermuth on the exposures tab, right, which is like macro level data, you can see, right? So my quarterback stacks that I have with Pat Fryermuth are hilariously 3 Jared Goff teams, 2 Justin Herbert teams, and then it's split up a bunch. From my roster construction, yeah. So look, I even drafted a fucking 4 tight end team with Pat Fryermuth. I have 5 Pat Fryermuth teams in the DK Millie already. They're all 3 quarterback, or they're all 3 tight end teams. So I need to, it's all right. It's 100% late round tight end teams, 60% late round quarterback. So I need to fix that, even though I literally just fucking did it again in this draft. There's no BBMDB for DraftKings. No. That is definitely Giga Brain. Savion Williams, wide receiver punt if Jacobs is suspended, because he is a wide receiver who played running back his senior year of college and wasn't ever a particularly great wide receiver. They put him at running back because he is like genuinely really good with the football in his hands. He just never ended up being a good doing all the wide receiver stuff. You know what I mean? About to make my 20th round pick. I'm going to let's go to I'm going to make my 20th round pick. I'm going to come back. We're going to do one Pomeranian draft. So I'm entering it right now. And we'll take a super duper quick break, and then we'll draft the Palm team here in just a second. But I have to take one more wide receiver to close out this team. Oh no. I hate when the DraftKings thing starts to oh, look at that. Jalen Knoll. All that correlation. Taekwon. Oof. Let's do. Oh God, the it filled. Oh, whoa. Yeah, I see the new. Let's do. I'm gonna do. We'll just do boring Devon Vele. All right, I am about to be on the clock at the 102 in this Pomeranian. We're going to take a super duper quick break. You guys can hear about all the power that is Spike Week Premium. I will have either Bijan Robinson or Jameer. We come back in just a second. Hey guys, if you are playing best ball this year, I promise you're going to want to check out Spike Week Premium. We're the very first company building an entire suite of best ball tools, everything you need to have to crush your best ball drafts. I like to call it your best ball co-pilot. We have the very first overlay tool, the very first portfolio tool, and a brand new draft optimizer. So the Draft Hacker overlays, our Draft IQ portfolio tool, you can look under every nook and cranny of your teams and your opponent's teams to find an edge in your drafts. You can optimize your drafts based upon the plan that you have with our draft optimizers, your target exposures, players you want to draft together or don't want to draft together, stacks you want to target. And of course, with the Draft Hacker overlays, you can customize every single thing you want to see on your screen while you're drafting. Playoff schedules, exposures, combinatorial ownerships, projected ownerships, stats about what these players did the previous year, all sorts of different stuff. And those are just the tools. We cover almost every sport that these best ball sites offer with rankings and strategy content. You can also get access to our premium Discord. Thousands of best ball sickos hanging out every day, 24/7, 365, talking strategy, player takes, having a little bit of fun. Our weekly lab call that we do on Wednesday evenings where you can hang out and talk shop with me, the other Spike Week members, and the Spike Week personalities. Everything for just one low price, $39.99 a month or $200 for a year, gets you absolutely everything that we offer. Those tools, the rankings, content, Discord for one low price. Come hang out with us this summer. I promise you won't regret it. Come join the Spike Week Sicko gang. And now, let's get back to the show. All right, we Got the 102, as I mentioned before the quick break. I have officially moved Jahmyr Gibbs to the 101, but unfortunately, CTZ also has Jahmyr Gibbs at the 101. So we got Bijan Robinson. I've been getting quite lucky with my Jahmyr Gibbs exposure thus far. Let's see. Do you expect to make the BBM first? Oh, do you expect Underdog to make the BBM first prize next year $3 million, considering how positive it's been for DK this year? It's a good question. I don't know. I think Underdog is doing what they're doing, sort of a little bit in a vacuum. Not entirely. Nothing is ever in a vacuum. They're definitely responding a little bit to the pressure from DraftKings, and Drafters is doing very well this year. The Drafters fill rate is crushing it relative to past seasons. And so I think Underdog is trying to figure out how to map out their vision that is now changed from getting a sports book to probably prediction markets. And I think that's number one priority. So if expanding Best Ball Mania to a larger contest is going to get in the way, I'm not saying that it is, but I'm saying if it's going to get in the way of that, I'm going to take Neighbors. And I don't have a Bijan team with these idiots at the 1-2 turn, or the 2-3 turn here. But especially in the I have so much Neighbors and Rice because I'm just buying the crap out of this dip on these guys, and I'm trying to get them with all of the different first rounders. So I'm going to take Bijan, Neighbors, and Rice. And again, this is in the Pomeranian. Week 17 is all that matters in this tournament. 4 out of 12 advance, then 2 out of 10, then 1 out of 8, and then there's a 941 person final. You make 10 total dollars, not profit. You get $10 if you make the final in this tournament. You need to finish high at the end. So I'm taking some sizable swings in my 50 Pomeranian teams. Yeah, you have to expand. You have to change things, right? Anytime you want to expand the prize pool, you need to expand the amount of entries. Every time you expand the amount of entries, you need to either make the final bigger or change the advancement structure. Underdog has been, up until this point, more of a proponent of a little bit smaller finals. Then DraftKings is willing to have a little bit larger finals, at least in the flagships. And so I have absolutely zero insight onto if that's just a total non-starter in terms of something that Underdog would change. I don't know. But if they want to continue, they've obviously leveled off with the BBM size, and they've leveled off a little bit in the contest stuff. We'll see. I don't have a great takes, I don't think, or even really very strong opinions, because I think it's really up in the air with where Underdog is headed, given the sportsbook prediction market stuff. Yeah, DK has, their Rolodex is just bigger. The user base that they have to try to promote to. They also are in a place where they truly do not care about losing money. Best ball is a tough game for a company. If you're worried, aren't you worried if overlay is going to negatively impact you in a way that is bad for business? DraftKings could not possibly fucking care less. They made more on their casino games since we've been streaming than they could ever possibly lose in overlay on a best ball. They just don't care. It's a user acquisition marketing tool that brings people back to the app, that brings in some new customers, that retains the current customers, that extracts more money out of the current customers, that ties up money for a long time that they can earn on that money. Like, it's not, people always talk about, I think best ball is often viewed through the wrong lens. It's like, well, you can't run a best ball company. It doesn't make money, or oh, it's going to overlay, so they don't want to lose money on it. Is like, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I'm saying that is not how best ball should be used from a corporate perspective. We'll take JMO. We'll take a little Jameson Williams. They are definitely, but the promos have been just outrageous. If you don't play on DraftKings, I understand everybody has their preferences. But you literally, if you max their Millie Maker, you get 10% of your entry fees back in site credits at the end. So you get 10%, right? So you're only paying for 90% of your entries. They've already given away like 10 free tickets. I'm possibly exaggerating. It's at least close. Travion, Terry. Let's do Terry again. Terry McLaurin Day today. They've already given away a bunch of free tickets. They are going to give away more free tickets. We haven't even reached like DK Best Ball Week and all that different kind of stuff. It's going to be pretty crazy once they do. So you're going to be like, I don't know, you're going to pay for 75% of your entries, something like that. Just, if we account for the 10%, right? You're going to be able to get so many free teams on DraftKings. And that's, they also run promos for like, if you play DFS or whatever, they've given away free $3 tickets. You get a bunch of free stuff over on DraftKings. So shout out to them for making the best ball summer better. Also, competition is good. Underdog finally did some Best Ball Mania giveaways, promos, because some of the competition, it's been really, really good. I'm not pulling that comment up, M. Stockton. I'll let you decide that one. Exactly. Best ball is the thing. You're like, oh, it's not the moneymaker. It gets you. It has a variety of. It serves a variety of purposes, right? From both acquiring new customers, retaining current customers, re-engaging customers, using it to give away the free tickets and making those customers feel like, right, like your VIPs or whatever, or not even your VIPs. Like, give them free shit and you feel valued. And then you develop this relationship with the sports book or whatever. You're like, you're going to bet on sports. Well, DraftKings is giving me some free stuff. I'm going to use them more often. There's just like all these, and then, oh, it's week 6. Let me come back and check my teams. Like, oh, maybe let me build a DFS team, or let me build a parlay or whatever. Oh, they also sent me an odds boost, or like it all plays together. It's not the thing that's creating profit for your business directly. It's indirectly in concert with the other things that you offer, generating revenue. If you had to really dumb it down, it's a marketing expense. If like it doesn't really work that way, but like if you truly wanted to like completely dumb it down as much as possible, I would classify it as a marketing expense. That also can generate profits. Like it can. Okay, we're doing Jayden Daniels again. I'm just gonna build the same team, but with Bijan and on underdog. May and Alec Pierce. So Brian Thomas Jr. is okay. So how about Ramondre? Let's do Ramondre. Solid RB2. Team 12. Ooh, pulls up Chase Brown. I like it. A great tactic in the Pomeranian. Get a little fun, unique start. I love it. Yeah, the all injury / suspended team. That's what I'm rocking. That's the way to go. In May, in a time box tournament in May, that's exactly that. I don't mean like literally draft all. Like I don't want to also draft. Like I don't want a 2 tight end room of Tucker Kraft and George Kittle or something like that. But like, I think I mentioned this yesterday. Like I'm drafting George Kittle in the Pomeranian on underdog, and it's not. I don't really like the George Kittle price. I think he's going to fall over the course of the summer. So I haven't been doing too much in like Best Ball Mania and the Millie and stuff. But in this tournament, it's going to be filled before he falls to a different degree. And again, week 17 is all I care about. Like I can survive and hang around the top 4 in this tournament, even with the George Kittle, with Malik Neighbors, with Rashee Rice, whatever. And then give me the hammer. Give me those guys as the hammer later when it really matters. Better says, I feel like Ramondre has so much more upside than he's been being given credit for currently. I'm with you. I like Ramondre. I have Ramondre ranked ahead of ADP. Makes me a little bit sick. But it's one of those instances where we're sort of just being like, when I say we, I generally mean like the market. The market is just like, I know that he was much better than this last year, but what usually happens is a guy performs really well the prior season, and then we base everything upon how that prior season went, and we price them based upon just that prior season. And so a lot of the times it can be advantageous to go the other way and say, like, I'm not so sure about this, guys. Hold on. Let's see. I mean, I really don't love RJ Harvey, but I will take him at this price on a hero running back team. But we're constantly seeking out things to exploit. And so if everybody if Ramondre was going in the 4th round, be like, ooh, guys, Travion is there. Travion is probably going to be better long term than Ramondre. Like, there's only really downside at this price. But in the 7th round, we're like, I don't really care what happened. That's what the market is saying. Like, I don't really give a shit what happened last year. Yeah, this has to be Fannin, but I have so much Fannin with these guys. But whatever, we're doing it. I'm overriding the portfolio takes here and taking Fannin. So it's like off the most likely thing that tends to happen. It's like I think it's not a perfect parallel. I think there's a little bit about Travis Etienne. Like he had a good year last year, and then he gets plopped on the Saints where we can project a bunch of volume onto him. But no one thinks like Travis Etienne is a star. No one thinks like Travis Etienne is awesome. No one thinks the Saints are like going to be one of the best offenses in football. They're exciting. We think that they're going to be good for fantasy, but no one thinks like this is not like some amazing situation or an amazing talent. It's just like interesting offense, probably going to get a lot of work, was decent last year. So we lump him up there. Those guys, I'm not saying they're bad, but I'm saying those guys make me a little more squeamish. And I think the most exploitable thing most of the time is to go the opposite way and say like, are we sure? Are we sure 3rd round pick, Travis Etienne? That seems a little rich. Where then Ramondre is the complete opposite of that. It's like, I mean, I don't love him either, guys, but like he played pretty well last year. They're just running it back with the same offense. They went to the Super Bowl. He was like their workhorse in the playoffs. Travion was barely playing. And like, is that going to maintain? I don't know, but you're giving me a pretty fucking good price to find out if it maintains. Like, even if it doesn't maintain, he's probably still a good pick at these prices. Yep. Market isn't always right. Up to us to decide that. on situations, right? You're like simultaneously want to respect the market, but then also exploit things within the market that are the most exploitable. And that's a wide range of shit that could be. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we'll take Golden. I need to see what's up with quarterback yet. So I'm getting myself into bad quarterback territory. So I neither need to set up a stack or just take naked Malik Willis, which I think is okay. Okay, Wandale goes. I was considering Wandale to set up Cam Ward. I could do, but I really don't like Jayden Higgins. I'm just gonna take naked Malik Willis here. If I stack him, I stack him. If I don't, I don't. That's sort of how I'm playing Malik Willis. I'm drafting Malik Willis because of Malik Willis's profile. The reason why I'm not excited about Malik Willis is because of his teammates. So overly prioritizing his teammates. I think Chris Bell is interesting. I think Malik Washington, much more on DraftKings and drafters, is interesting. I think Greg Dulcich is sort of interesting. But I don't want to force the stack with Malik Willis. He's probably the number one quarterback I would say that about. Grant, bring this on Fridays for those that don't know. On Fridays, we do here at Spike Week. First of all, if you don't know, Tuesday through Friday, every day, 11 a.m. Eastern, hanging out, talking shop. Tuesdays, we're going to be doing some tiers, rank some stuff. Wednesdays, we generally do like some news updates. Thursdays is a little bit of a free space. And Fridays, again, 11 a.m. Eastern here on this same bat time, same bat channel, we do what I call Freestyle Friday. Meaning we all come here, we hang out, and the chat gives some ideas that I have to implement as if I'm freestyling like a rapper, right? This is inspired by, I'm a big fan of Harry Mack, the freestyle rapper. And that's what he does, right? He asks people for words to use in his freestyle, and then he has to come up with stuff off the top of the dome with incorporating those words. So that's what we do on Fridays. So bring the all upside team to the table on Fridays, and I take three concepts, right? They could be as simple as draft a zero running back team, as complicated as what was it on this past Friday? Draft X amount of guys with two first names, or draft guys with two first names, like Jordan Mason, right? Tyrone Tracy, Travis Hunter, or draft guys with two first names. It could be complex, simple, whatever you guys like. I pick from the chat as my inspiration for those drafts on Fridays. Mac, shout out. I agree. Harry Mack, the GOAT, for real. If no one has listened to Harry Mack, I promise you don't have to like hip hop. You don't have to like freestyle rapping. The guy is a fucking artist. Unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. I don't understand how he does what he does. It's crazy, dude. Damn, Keaton goes. This range sucks. I'm just going to take Jalen McMillan. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I think he's all right. I have him ranked favorably, though, relative to ADP. I also don't have I have a little more Brenton Strange on Underdog. Let's do the Brenton Strange bring back again. Skip the Chig, Daniels, Terry, and do the Brenton Strange bring back over here. I don't think I've hardly done it at all. So I'm meeting some quotas here on today's show with the Brenton Strange side of things and a little bit lower on the Chig. Big L. I haven't heard somebody talk about Big L in a long time. I was born in '88, so Big L was a little bit not ahead of my time. He was during my life and stuff, but I wasn't quite. I'm like a little bit more of Jay-Z, Eminem, Kanye era. Lil Wayne, of course. Obviously, I mean, I like Biggie and Pac and Nas and everybody like everyone else does, Dre. But my like peak era was like the Jay-Z, Eminem, on into Kanye, Lil Wayne. Yeah. No Cap Mac. Shockingly a fan of another Mac. This is a good one. Benny says Monty has a pretty good run out for the first half of the season for limbs. Yeah, I like David Montgomery in the Eliminator. For sure. Sorry, I'm old. That's funny. I'm getting there. Don't worry. I'm catching up to you. Monty did land in a great spot. Yeah, Monty is a guy who I don't want my season riding on David Montgomery, like, because he's just an okay talent. The Texans are not an offense that I particularly love. Antonio comes back. Sorry, I can't. I'm contractually obligated to never take Antonio Williams over Ryan Flanoy. I just want that known. Now maybe I'll take Antonio though. 100%. What is this? 100% of my Jayden Daniels teams have Antonio on underdog. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna take Tank Bigsby. I quite like Tank. Tank's slowly encroaching on flag plant status back here amongst the late running backs. In the least surprising news of all time, the backup to Saquon Barkley is going to be a very high-owned player for me this year. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Trying it again. Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football is me with Saquon Barkley's backups. Man. Early Kid Cudi. So good. I loved Kid Cudi. Not to get all like dark and sad and stuff, but we've all had tough moments in our life, right? And Kid Cudi's ability to create incredible music while telling stories about really dark times and struggles that he's having, not in a way like look, I love Eminem. He's one of my Mount Rushmores, but and Eminem was certainly dealing with it, but he was like joking about drug problems and abuse from his mother and all that, and it's entertaining and some of it is therapeutic for him, I'm sure, but in general, it was a little more like sort of rage bait or clickbait or whatever dark humor type stuff. Whereas Kid Cudi was able to somehow interweave these like serious life and struggles and mental health issues and substance abuse issues and like all that kind of stuff into like beautiful poetry that like you almost like don't even really realize that that's what he's rapping about. And it was so good. So good. Who are you taking for Derrick Henry's backup? Justice. So he's a unique one. We talked a little bit earlier. I think you were here, Mo. We talked about the identity back. Derrick Henry is very much an identity back. I don't think that Justice Hill is going to just step in and play like 80% of the snaps for the Baltimore Ravens if Derrick Henry were to go down. Someone else, whether it I actually think Rasheen Ali has the leg up on Adam Randall. I'm not a big Adam Randall guy. He's a late round rookie in a bad rookie class, et cetera, et cetera. So I think Justice Hill and Rasheen Ali and maybe a little bit of Adam Randall would split the backfield, but they would convert. My bet, sort of. I need at least my real flag plant. If you want my actual current flag plant, I'm going to get to these guys. Maybe I'll do that one tomorrow and do anyway, not important. We're going to do like my favorite current flag plant picks, and spoiler alert, Ray Davis is one of them. He's also the stone cold nuts for the Pomeranian. Like, who cares what you get all year? Somehow get a team to week 17, and the Bills are playing the Dolphins in week 17. I also have Malik Willis on this team. I should have prepared. Let's do a Marshawn Lloyd one time. I did Brooks on the other team. I much prefer Chris Brooks. Let's do a Marshawn Lloyd. Get some exposure to Marshawn Lloyd. First time, I think. Looking up mixtapes on Dat Piff. There's a throwback. Amen. Eric, what's the best way to DM you in Discord? Go to Discord and DM me there. That's definitely. I'm in Discord all the time. Even when I'm working, I usually have it up on the side. I do admittedly go to the gym after the shows every single day. But so if I don't reply right away, that's what it is. But I will get back to you this afternoon, and always in Discord is best for me. I don't really. I search on like Twitter and stuff for some news and everything, but I life hack for me over the last like 2 years. I was very much certainly addicted to my phone, but very much addicted to social media. It's especially being in fantasy sports and stuff. It just is. It's something that you felt like you had to be there all the time, and I don't use it very much anymore. I don't really use Twitter. I've curated some feeds and stuff on some of the apps because I really watch a lot of animal videos, and I watch Harry Mack's videos, and I watch some comedy stuff, and animal videos, and rap and hip hop. That's pretty much it. So then I don't, like, if someone said, did you see the clip of this, whatever? Like, I probably did not. No, I'll have to go search it. Bang, look at that. See? That's the other thing. I've been touching a lot of grass. It's been great. It's wonderful. Bucky is depressing. I was buying him as a cheap theoretical anchor. Loved using Brees and Bucky to have double elite wide receiver and anchor running back. I still think you can. It's definitely depressing. Absolutely no argument for me there. Oh, I think I forgot to finish my thought, but just I think Justice Hill would like sort of be like a faux lead back. You know what I mean? I think they're going to throw it more, and he's the passing down back. Wide receiver. I've been taking an absolute shitload of Tez Walker. He's been sort of again, my Pomeranian stand. It's already like 30% full. It's going to fill very quickly. Like, we're not going to have news about any of these late round guys. And I think he has as good of a shot as anybody to be the late round Ravens wide receiver who is impactful. And so specifically in this tournament where he's like 0% drafted, it's one of my, like, a Tez Walker tournament. But we got 2862 team with Bijan Robinson. We did the old Neighbors Rice at the 2-3 turn. Jamison Williams, Terry McLaurin, Jayden Daniels. Again, Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin stack day. Ramondre Stevenson, RJ Harvey, Harold Fannin, Matthew Golden, Malik Willis, naked. Jalen McMillan, Brenton Strange, bring back again on the Daniels McLaurin stack. Ryan Flanoy, because of course. Tank Bigsby, Ray Davis, Marshawn Lloyd. You heard it here first. RB1 with the Packers. That's not true. That's sarcasm. I'm a Chris Brooks bro, but Marshawn Lloyd, I think, is worth mixing in right now as well. And Tez Walker, my guy back there. Before we go, if you think the Packers are rolling out Brooks and Lloyd if Jacob gets suspended, I have some top shots to sell you. And if you didn't listen to the show where I addressed this earlier, and you don't think that we can, if you think that the guy has to be the starting running back to be draftable in the very end of drafts, do I have some best ball teams to sell you? Because that is not how any of this works. They can be great picks, and they can also sign someone, which is specifically what I said earlier in the show, that they are 100%, if Josh Jacobs is not around, going to bring someone in. That does not mean that Chris Brooks and Marshawn Lloyd are not good picks in the late rounds. But I agree. If anyone does believe that, then they didn't listen to this show, because that's not what I said or what I think is reasonable. Thank you guys for joining. If you could hit thumbs up before you leave, it's greatly appreciated. And subscribe to the channel. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to walk through my portfolio. We've got a bunch of drafts in. It's about to be June, so it's time to level set on where some of the gaps in my portfolio are, where some of my biggest stands are, how I'm approaching each tournament a little bit differently, and all of that good stuff, of course, using our wonderful Draft IQ tool here at Spike Week. Enjoy your Wednesday. It's lab night in the Discord. If you've never joined the lab before, come hang out with us in the Discord and check it out. You can talk to me in person via the internet a little bit later, and many other folks. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.